Hey, hello out there, all you ghosts and ghouls. It's not Halloween anymore, but I just wanted to let that
ghouls.
go. Christmas ghosties and ghoulies.
There's three ghosts. There's the ghost of Christmas past, present, and future. So I think you're onto something, man.
Dude, and the Holy Ghost?
The Holy Ghost as well. There's a ton of ghosts for Christmas.
Dude. We got all these ghosts in here.
People think Halloween's the spookiest time of the year, but maybe it's really Christmas.
I mean, you got zombies, Jesus,
true.
And so yeah. I mean, we could totally switch the holidays, and nobody would even know.
Santa's definitely like a warlock or something, right? He's got some kind of powers going on.
Well, it depends on if you're talking about like which Santa are you talking about? Tim Allen's got some powers when he's Santa.
Tim Allen. There's definitely some fucking dark shit going on there, dude.
Well, yeah, but it's mostly cocaine. Like that's cocaine and the Constitution. That's what Tim Allen's all about, baby. Yeah, man. I don't know. It's weird I don't feel in the holiday spirit, but I never do. It's nothing new for me, but I know that a lot of other Americans right now are probably getting ready for Christmas and really excited. But it's going to be weird because of COVID, because everything's weird now.
Yeah, everything is weird now. And I was out doing some store pickups today, and it's wild out there, man. It's really? A lot of people. Yeah, dude. I mean, most of our stuff, just going to service desks or just doing curbside, but there is just, it's like, it's Christmas shopping. There's lines out every door.
Oh my God.
Limited occupancy and shit. It's pretty nuts.
It's just, we're all going to die mid-January.
Well, hopefully not.
Yeah.
Anyways, this is Tome of Chaos, a podcast where me and Dave are crowdsourcing a religion that doesn't suck.
Yeah, we're trying to figure shit out.
We
don't know everything. We barely know anything. And we've had guests on and talked about other religions. And basically, most of the time, we just hang out and talk about issues and then figure out what goes in the book and what doesn't. So, yeah. And I'm pumped for this week because it's been far too long since we've had this gentle person in our midst, Walter. I'm talking about Mark Williams. How you doing, Mark?
I'm good. How are you guys?
Oh, we're doing great, man. You're getting ready to move and everything. How's that going?
Pretty good. It was a little rough for a while. Our appraisal took forever, but we're packed and we close Wednesday. So
hell yeah, dude. That's awesome. Yeah, buying a house is the worst thing ever.
Oh my gosh. It really is.
I hated it, man. It's like, hey, can you send us this paperwork? And it's like, I've sent you that document 12 times.
Mm-hmm.
They checked my credit 3 separate times, and now it's fucking me. Like, now I just got these hard inquiries, dude. Like, ain't never going to fall off,
No, every time I buy a house, I get checked over and over again because there's always some Mark Williams that robbed a bank or did something that they have to make sure I'm not that Mark Williams.
It is a fucking dude. You do have a regular name. So this episode is it's going to be different from the last time we had you, Mark, because the last time we talked about your history and panned out your gospel. And this might even not really go into the book of Mark. I don't know. Because we're talking about aliens, because Walter keeps giving me shit about aliens.
Giving you shit is a stretch. I think I've been down to play every time.
I've been verbally attacked about my love for aliens every time I bring them up on this show. Because I think that if we're going to have a gospel for all these different people, we should know where they stand with aliens.
Sure.
I think.
And some spirituality talks about aliens. So
yeah, dude. See, we're on the right track. Tonight, Walter, I want us to figure out what you and I think about aliens. Like, do they belong in the tome? Do they not belong in the tome? By the end of tonight. By the end of an hour, dude, because that's all the work I'm putting into it. But Mark, can you give us some of your background on aliens?
Sure. So, as you know, last time I have a master's in theology, but I'm also a MUFON field investigator. So MUFON is Mutual UFO Network, and they've been around since the 60s or 70s. I should know this since I'm a registered field investigator. But it's basically a loose group of people across the world that study UFO experiences. So we gather information on people's reports. We investigate them with the idea of most of the time proving that they're not actually extraterrestrial craft. Not saying they never are, but we always prove if we can find they're not.
Well, probably. Isn't there just a ton of them, I'm sure?
Oh, yeah. I've been a field investigator for 3 years. And, I get probably every week or 2 weeks, I get a case. And it's, there's other Ohio investigators. So, there's a lot of.
How do I get involved in this, dude?
Well, I've only had one where I've actually said, there's no possibility that I can explain this.
Really?
Yeah.
So out of the plethora of accounts. Now, before COVID, would you go meet these people?
You can. So I usually don't have to because most of the ones I do are visual sightings of phenomena. If you are an investigator that actually investigates supposed landings, or contact with beings, then they do go to the people's homes or wherever the location is. I do most of it through the internet and phone because, it's people send pictures, videos, or just descriptions.
Okay. Rad. So you've seen a lot of pictures.
Yes. Lots and lots of pictures, lots of videos. And all of, I will say 99% of the photos or videos do look odd. So it's not like people just taking a picture of a plane and going, oh my gosh, I saw a UFO. But most of it can be explained by satellites, meteors, weird ways that they see aircraft. Sometimes it's even other natural phenomena. Drones are a real problem now because they're everywhere.
Yeah, everybody's seeing drones and they're like, that's an alien and I'm going to shoot it.
I've never had anybody shoot at one, but I'm sure that happens.
Yeah. So I don't let's get it out of the way, Mark. So do you believe in aliens?
Yeah, well, first of all, my bachelor's is in computer science, so I wouldn't say I'm a hard scientist, but I scientifically, I've done a lot of study on astronomy and I believe for sure there's life outside of the Earth.
Okay.
That's for sure. I also believe and they've almost proved it. Not intelligent life, but we know that there's probably microbial life on Mars, Venus, in the atmosphere. But they pretty much come to the point of it's there. I do believe that there is life. I also believe that there is intelligent life. I believe that something has come here because there's too much unexplained. But I don't believe 90% of what is reported or more is actually true.
Yeah.
Just because, well, I look at these cases and most of them are, again, people aren't lying for the most part. Once in a while you get a fake, but usually it's people are seeing something they can't explain and they jump to conclusions.
Right.
Yeah. Well, I remember, wasn't it probably 4 or 5 years ago, there was that weird green comet that flashed in Ohio, the crazy bright green light. And everybody was like, that was fucking aliens. Had to have been. What was that? Do you remember that?
I remember hearing about it, but I did not investigate that one. So I don't know, there's meteors can take on different colors based on the composition and how it comes through the atmosphere and the cloud layer. And it can be all kinds of, and if it's gas and it's sort of, it explodes in the atmosphere, you can get all kinds of weird results and things that sort of look like they're descending and stopping and descending and stopping, even though it's really a comet because the particles are floating somewhat. You get a lot of that. People saying, I thought it was a comet, but it sort of stopped. Well, that's because it hit the atmosphere and, it's hitting layers of atmosphere. So.
Oh, see, look at that. You're already disproving shit. So it's not, you don't just believe everything you see. So that's why I brought you here, because I know that you are a man of science and thought and logic. And I that's why I want to talk about aliens with you, is because I'm like, I think that, like, for so long I was like, man, there's no such thing and shit. And then as I started like hearing more and reading more, and just thinking more, it's like, like why isn't there like other intelligent species? You know what I mean? Like that's what like my biggest thing came to was like, why can't there be, And like one person said one time, there's a certain theory and it's like, there's life out there. Either it's behind us in time, ahead of us in time, or at the same time. So it's like either they're like just now getting their shitty Elon Musk, who's like trying to travel in space and shit, or they've already had their shitty Elon Musk and he's like made it and fucking traveled to other worlds. Or they're still just like crawling on the ground. You know what I mean? So do you think that there is like super advanced alien species?
I think there's everything. I think there are, there's obviously microbial life. I think there's equivalents of plant and animal populations outside of our solar system. Now, who knows on, some of the Jupiter and Saturn moons that are basically giant ice balls with oceans underneath. There could be animal life in those oceans. But for the most part, I believe our solar system is very low level other than Earth. But I believe that, there are stars that are much, much older than ours. And there are stars that are younger. So I do believe that there's probably societies that are, more like our primordial days all the way up to where we'll be in another 1,000 years. The big question, of course, is do they come here if they're advanced? And, the big problem is speed of light. But the questions are have they traveled over distances in some kind of ship that, generational ship? Or do they have some mechanism of space folding to travel through, like basically a wormhole kind of an effect? And we just don't know. I believe that there's things that are unexplainable in vehicles that have been shown. And if you're following the news, there's the Tic Tac that the U.S. Army saw or the Navy saw. There's also been a report that some contractor for one of the government facilities said that they are examining some kind of craft that is not from Earth.
Yeah.
Now, what that means, who knows? But I don't personally have any knowledge or understanding if they are coming, how they're getting here, where they're from. There's people that claim that they've been told what planet of what star, and again, I don't know. I don't want to say they haven't, but nobody's told me personally.
So you've never been visited yourself,
I did have a UFO experience when I was a child, but I was very into astronomy as a child. I read, when I was in elementary school, I read like high school level astronomy books. and I was really into the solar system. And I had an experience of seeing at night something that I'm like, oh, it's Saturn, because it was sort of a ball with a ring type of thing. And then I realized, I was maybe a little slow, but I realized I can't see Saturn's rings from here.
Right.
And it moved. So, again, it's a UFO because I cannot say what it was.
Right.
And even with my experience with MUFON, I can't say whether as a elementary school kid, I imagined some of it and those memories have come forward, or did I see something? I can't identify it. So it's a UFO.
Yeah. I'm down with that. Do you think, what's up with these monoliths right now that are popping up? Do you think those are aliens, or is it just somebody fucking with us?
I think it's probably somebody fucking with us. I actually wonder if the first one was some kind of art installation that's tried to get, like people to notice it and do social media. I did see a meme where someone wrote on it, like superimposed on the picture, people of Earth, this is the Galactic Space Development Group. Your planet is in the middle of a trade route and will be destroyed. And, it was a joke.
Yeah.
But I just don't think they're putting metal monoliths up. I mean, it just seems weird.
Yeah.
I think they do something a little more useful. I don't know. That's just sort of funky. So
has that kept going? I know there was like 2 or 3 that popped up. Is it still going?
The last I saw there was the third. There was one somewhere in Europe, and then one somewhere, I think somewhere else in the US. But that was the last I saw. The one in Europe, I don't know if it was the way they took the picture, but it looked like hammer beaten metal to me.
Yeah.
It wasn't totally smooth. It looked like somebody had hammered something and, to put it up.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, you would think that the motherfuckers who found it, though, already, and you see all these pictures of people investigating, it's like, dude, is there a screw hole in there or not? Like, can you report? Like, you know what I mean? Like, just let us know. Like, put in there that it's solid fucking steel that you couldn't pick up. It's like something like that,
Every once in a while, though, there's just like one of these weird memes that goes on, like I feel like it was a few years ago, there was those lights that were just appearing over different cities, and then and then it just wasn't a thing. Like, it never got explained
because it was fucking aliens, dude.
It could have been.
Well, I believe in all the possibility, but I don't believe in some of the actuality. So what I mean is, anything, those monoliths, could it be? Sure. But what's the probability that they're putting up metal things that don't seem to have a purpose? Granted, we may not understand, but it just didn't seem like what I would expect. Now, I'm a human being. I have my own ideas. I could be completely wrong, but it just seemed like an art installation to me more than an alien.
I think we give it a couple months, see if McDonald's says like, oh, it's part of our promotional.
Dude, it's the Simpsons angel. Do you remember? Have you ever seen that episode? So like they find this like angel like with wings and shit, and Homer starts charging people because Lisa found it to like view the angel and shit like that. And then the angel's like, doom will come at noon or something like that. And everybody gathers together because they think they're all going to die. And then it floats over to like a shopping mall. And it's like the Doom Mall. You know what I mean? Like, it's fucking totally just a fucking marketing experiment. So what do you like, Mark, how do you think aliens, like you've said, there's things that can't be explained, and you would think of those when you think of aliens. What are some of those things? So
there are many, many photographs, eyewitnesses of things in the air that do defy explanation.
Yeah.
It's getting harder and harder because, of course, our technology is increasing so quickly. We didn't have drones years ago.
Yeah.
Also, there was only so much that the government had because of, even though we had, craft that was experimental, there wasn't the kinds of we're seeing back in the day. There's literally no explanation. Now it's harder because you could see something and just say, oh, it's an experimental ship, and maybe it is something. Mm-hmm. But there's documented cases. If you look at the some of the history of ufology and some of the events that have happened, there are tons of scientists, ex-military people who've come forward and said they've had experiences. One of them was, and I forget which Air Force base, but there was a place where there was nuclear armaments, and there's multiple people from this base that corroborate that some kind of light appeared, and then all of the nuclear armaments went live and then dead all together at once. Not just one, all of them.
God, that's crazy, dude. You're just sitting in a base and you're like, oh, fuck, dude.
Yeah, and they're scared. Is it, this is back, years ago too. Is it, the USSR sending some kind of drone that can control our, our nuclear stuff? But then the people who were on the ground that saw it described something that, moved at velocities that are impossible, ways that no human being could survive if they were inside of it with our technology, because it moves so quickly, the G-force would just destroy you. There's stuff like that I cannot explain. And there is the whole, experience of abductees that some of them have very, very similar experiences. They've been documented really well. And some of them are people that really reporting it really hurt them. A case from the 50s, I believe, Betty and Barney Hill, a mixed racial couple. So they already had problems because at that time it wasn't very popular for mixed racial marriages. Betty and Barney Hill, they came forward and had lost time, came forward and gave a story under hypnosis. And they claimed to their dying days that it was real. So who knows? Again, could they have had some kind of experience? But both of them, same hypnotic.
Right.
How do you explain some of that? Could it be that it wasn't physical? Maybe. But are aliens necessarily physical? Are they an energetic movement? Are they a physical movement? I don't know.
Or they could exist on another dimension, right?
Yep.
One that we can't perceive.
And those are the theories. So if there are beings coming to us, are they from other star systems? Are they from other dimensions? Or are they from our future? Those are some of the theories that go around. And then the one, some of the other theories are they are from our dimension, from another star system, but they go through dimensional gateways to get here. So those are some of the theories that pop up. From my standpoint, the science, again, it's beyond our capabilities, so it's hard to imagine, but the science isn't completely impossible. But I don't know, what they are,
right.
Beings or any of these.
Well, one thing I think is interesting is the idea of mass hallucination, right? That's something that people will throw out as an explanation for some of these cases where multiple people report seeing a UFO. Is there any credibility? Do you know if there's credibility to the concept of a mass hallucination?
So I think a couple things. First of all, people by nature create connections in their brain. So, and this is a survival instinct. When we were, in the wild, we would look for connections to try to understand what was going on around us. For instance, we had to, and I believe in evolution, as beings that were, being hunted by predators, we had to be able to make connections of what could happen. So we put connections in our brain. We see a light in the sky. We try to explain it. And if it doesn't fit our explanation, we do come up with a scenario that our brain can understand. So I do believe that multiple people, if they have the same beliefs and the same cultural ideas, and they see something, and especially they start talking about it, they can then get into a place where they all take what they see and sort of fit it into their own, into what that group has done. And I think that's a little bit where we're at now, with the fact that there are these reported cases of people that went through regression and had these experiences. And now maybe there's some people having these, but also because it's such cultural norm for little gray aliens to be abducting people, that if people are having some kind of like a sleep paralysis thing, or their brain will start to fill in gaps and fill these in. So I do believe in mass hypnosis, but not from a standpoint that you don't have multiple people experience the same thing unless they have a background that makes them do that. So if people are unconnected and there isn't stories of this, you go back to the 50s. There weren't, there were talk of little green men and there was talk of discs. But when people went through hypnosis and had very similar experiences, this wasn't a cultural norm. Now it is. I mean, everyone's seen Close Encounters and, most people are. And these abduction videos. So what happens now, you have some kind of experience, your brain fills stuff in, especially if you're in a half lucid state. So I'm not saying that people's experiences aren't true. What I'm saying is it is potential for people to be filling in gaps and coming up with something that they've seen. But I don't think that happens like 100 people that haven't talked, haven't had the same experience or the same culture have the same experience. That would be a psychic phenomena if they had mass hypnosis, not a normal experience.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that totally makes sense. Walter, what do you think about Tom DeLonge, dude?
Tom from Blink? Yeah. I love him, man. I don't like the songs he wrote as much as Mark's, but, they're decent.
Well, he's blown the lid off of this alien shit.
Oh, dude. Yeah. No, it's amazing. It's so funny because I remember, when I was younger, hearing Blink-182 broke up. Tom's really into aliens. He's going to start some college and do all this investigation. I was like, yeah, sure, whatever. And then, now it's like, oh my God, I think this guy's legit. You can look on his website. He's got ex-NASA people and really smart people working with him. And they released that Navy footage
where the dude, the guy talking about that. Have you heard of that one, Mark? There was an Air Force dude doing a run. And there's audio of you hearing this guy describing what he's seeing and everything. And it gets, so he's describing everything he's seeing. He's, and I think you can watch the footage of it. I don't know. Yeah. I only heard the recording and it's just what the fuck is that? And the great thing is Tom DeLonge, dude, he's the one putting all this shit out. But, have you seen that video? Do you think do you think that's a UFO?
Yes.
With a species in it, I guess is what I'm going to say. You know what I mean? I understand we can't explain it, therefore it's a UFO. But it just for the rest of this talk, just know that when I say UFO, I mean there are people inside of it, living beings who are here to either anally probe us or warn us. You know what I mean? I know that the other thing that's real, when I was reading about aliens, it was the reason anal probing was a thing that they say we do now, aliens do back in the day, was just like a homophobic, like, this is the worst thing that could happen to you with aliens. It's like, you know, they're going to put it where God doesn't want you to put it, you know, but like, I guess like, yeah, do you think that those people, that footage had had species on it?
So I think that based on, because To the Stars Academy, which is Tom DeLonge's organization, they've done, I've seen all the video of it and all the interviews with the pilot who you know, you hear the audio of, and other Air Force and Navy people that are talking about it. I believe it is truly not something made on Earth. Now, whether it was a remote controlled alien device or there were actually beings in it, I don't know. But they literally said that there is no way that unless some country on Earth is way more advanced than we thought they were, there is no way that this was something built on our planet.
Could be the Atlanteans, huh?
Well, if they're still here, although you cannot imagine when you get into the ufology culture, the theories abound, and there are actually people that believe the Atlanteans are now hollow Earth beings, and they are living under the surface of our planet, and So in some people's circles, it could be.
Hey, I like it. That's fun to me. I like that idea.
Dude, Atlantis seems real rad too. So like all the Disney movie I watched at least made it seem really cool.
Yeah, for sure.
But like, why do you think they visit us? Like this drone, or if they're in it, you know, like, why do you think that they would visit us?
So, you know, there's lots of theories, and some of them I think are more rational than others. You know, there are theories that they're scientific and they look at, you know, planets, and we happen to be one. They found life and semi-intelligent compared to them. So they come and check us out. There's theories that, you know, they had a hand in our evolution. I don't know. There's theories that they have come in mass because of our nuclear capabilities. There's so many, and this was To the Stars Academy actually brought this up, that many, many, many sightings are around our nuclear, around the world, nuclear facilities, around nuclear vessels, and that the biggest amount of these experiences started once the human race started producing nuclear devices. So there's this thing of we're getting technological enough to destroy ourselves, and if we go into space, to destroy others. So there's this theory they're sort of checking us out, trying to keep us under control. And I don't mean that in a bad way, keeping us from killing ourselves or everybody else.
Yeah, if they're super intelligent and way further along in evolution than us, they've probably already went through the blow each other up, move to space like time, you know?
Yeah. So, if they're that far advanced.
So they could just be reaching out an olive branch like, hey, we've done this. Like, chill out. Quit making fucking nuclear weapons. Quit fighting with each other. You know, like just love each other, because you can't get back your planet, guys. We know. We've made the mistake. Yeah, man. Right. See, I like those kind of aliens, dude. That's the kind that are real sick. I'm real worried that they're the kind though that are gonna enslave us all, you know. Or at least enslave our leaders. We're already kind of there, but
hey, maybe they'd be better than our leaders. Maybe they should enslave them.
That could be rad.
The thing I have with that, because, you know, they're, again, in the UFO community, there's all these theories that, you know, they're here harvesting us, that they want our planet, that, there's one species or multiple species that want us dead and others that want to help us, and on and on and on. My problem is, if they wanted us dead, if they're this technologically advanced, we'd all be dead.
Yeah.
I mean, if they can travel light years in quick time, in the time they supposedly do, and all the other things they can do, like supposedly if they can beam us up or whatever it is they do to get us into the ships, if that's happening, they would just kill us if that's what they wanted.
Yeah.
I don't, I got to believe that they may want things from us and our planet, but I got to believe it's not to wipe us out, because that would have happened 50 years ago or 100 years ago or, whatever.
Do you get into any of the ancient alien, like Anunnaki stuff? Is that?
I do. I have read quite a bit on that and watched quite a bit. In fact, the first time I did anything with MUFON, I was one of their field investigators, and I don't know why, I wasn't privy to the case, but was asking about the Anunnaki. And for those who don't know, the Anunnaki are supposedly the gods of Mesopotamia, in Sumeria, were called Anunnaki, and one set of gods, actually. And Zecharia Sitchin is really well known for writing a series of books called The Ninth Planet, or The 10th Planet. And it was about the idea that there was another planet in our solar system that only came around once every so many thousand years, and every time it does, there's disaster, and that these Anunnaki came from that planet to ours. So they were asking me about the Sumerian epics and the whole creation story that Sitchin bases it on. I don't speak Sumerian, so all I can do is go off of all the translations I've read. Sitchin did his own, and then there's many, many scholars who've done their own. And when you read it, some of his stuff, so I totally have a hard time believing this idea of this planet that's in our solar system, because how would you survive on this planet that's so far out? How did life evolve there? There's all kinds of holes here. But Anunnaki does mean those who came from heaven or those who came from space. There are other things and depictions that look like DNA chains. There are descriptions that some of his stuff does not completely go against the scholarly look, but it's stretched. So were the Anunnaki aliens? I don't know. Were all of our deities aliens? There's things that point to we could have been visited, and a whole bunch of things that point to our ancestors knowing a lot more about space than we did for a long time. But is there any definitive proof? And that I have not seen.
Okay, gotcha. I think it's so fun, especially I like thinking about what's the divide between what is like angelic or godly or a deity versus what is just an alien, right?
And wouldn't we think though that an alien, when we, before we had technology, I mean, they thought people that could, use herbs to heal people were witches. So, you come with a little technology, you're a god.
Right.
Dude, I'm down. Like, God being an alien, it sounds way cool to me.
Well, I mean, if there's like a celestial plane, right? If there's some kind of spiritual dimension and aliens are interdimensional beings, like what's really the difference?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like when the Bible talks about heaven, but we can't reach it. We can go travel space, but we just need a wormhole to get there. You know what I mean? Maybe. Or we need some. There's the actual dimension of heaven exists, and it's filled with aliens that want to come hang out with us.
Yeah.
And some religions have that very clear kind of description. The Gnostics talk all the time about, heaven being a place right where we are, but at a different frequency, which sounds like another dimension pretty much to me.
Well, and I mean, doesn't it say like there will be a new heaven and a new earth and shit like that? Like, so maybe if we get these frequencies figured out, we'll be walking in heaven.
You know, Kabbalah, interestingly, in the Zohar, one of the books of Kabbalah written in the 14th century Spain, not the beginning of Kabbalah. Everyone thinks that's the beginning. It's not. It goes way back beyond that. And there's publications that show that. But in this work called the Zohar, there's an entire section that talks about that if you were on a planet, your tree of life would look different because the tree of life, the glyph they use, the sun is one of the spheres, the different planets, our Earth is one of them, the moon is one. And it basically says if you lived in a place that had two suns, you'd have two spheres for those suns. And they really go into this idea that there are beings on other planets. But we're here on this one, so let's focus on that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I think it's super interesting when you think about aliens with religion, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because it seems like I mean, I don't know, maybe this is going to get political and, you know, religious, but it's like, you mean to tell, like I feel like a lot of at least Christians I've talked to who believe in God and believe in the Christian God and Jesus, and will say that they totally believe there could be aliens, like almost no problem. You know what I mean? Which would seem like it would poke a lot of holes in your beliefs, you know, but then they won't admit that that there's racism. You know what I mean? Like straight up are totally okay with aliens and shit, you know, like why do you think that is? Like, cause I guess I felt like if I believed in the Christian God, then aliens are off the table.
I think it depends. If you're a biblical literalist and you think everything in it is completely literal, then you think the earth is the center of the universe and we are God's only, I mean, other than angelic and demonic beings, we are the only creation. But I think there are more liberal, like I growing up, we had a Presbyterian pastor that lived on our street. And I remember when I was in my teens being at a Christmas party, and I was like, what do you should I be talking about this in front of you? And he's like, no, I believe that there's aliens. I think if it's people that believe there's a deity that's a higher power, but don't believe in complete literalism, like once you believe in evolution, I think it's easy to believe in aliens. If you don't believe in evolution, it's hard to.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, we're getting down a rabbit hole because I like, how do you not in this day and age believe in evolution? You know, like,
oh, there's some stuff out there.
Yeah.
you go to that, what is that? The Creation Museum?
Oh yeah, dude.
Cincy or something.
Yeah.
They'll send you some weird directions for sure. They have like their theories and they have it all written out, and some of it's real wild. Like some of it is all our carbon dating can't be trusted.
And that's true.
Well, because they say because of Noah's flood. So what happened is when the flood happened, all of the sediment and earth and all that stuff got all mixed up. And now we actually don't know what was down, how far, and all that stuff. So actually, we're saying this stuff's super old, but it's just got buried because of the flood. Does that make sense?
I've heard those kind of theories. There's starting to be evidence that there was not Noah's flood. I mean, it was Noah's flood because that's a myth about it. But there is this evidence that back at the end of the last ice age, there's a theoreticist, Graham Hancock, writes a lot of books on theoretic archaeology and stuff. There's some standard scientists are starting to agree that it looks like a comet, a fairly large one, hit the North American ice sheet at the end of the last ice age, causing a mass melting of ice. And it did cause all kinds of flooding all over the world. Now, was the whole world completely underwater? No.
Right.
But were all the low grounds flooded really quickly? Yes.
Yeah.
And
so he didn't need an ark. He just really needed like a paddle boat, he didn't, it was very over exaggerated in the Bible. It's like,
if that was the end of the ice age, I don't know the history very well. Is that when people are around? Are people there yet?
Okay. Yeah. Because during the ice age, there's Neanderthals, probably Denisovans, and modern humans.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was like, I don't want to say, I forget the date, but we didn't have true civilization, at least in the areas where we think of civilization. But there's starting to be evidence that there was higher civilization than we thought in areas that are now underwater. In India, off the coast, when there was a tsunami, they found temples that were buried underwater that started to come up after the tsunami.
Oh, wow.
And it's off the coast where the Mahabharata, one of the Indian epics, talks about there being this stuff there and the continent being big, subcontinent being bigger. And everyone thought it was just myth. Well, now they see, oops, yeah, that stuff really was there.
That's wild.
Dude, that's incredible.
Was it really, we fantasize about Atlantis and stuff being this, super technologic thing. But, the way I think they're looking at it is, it was these places that were flooded were just ahead of everything around them because they were on coastal areas. They were destroyed and people had to migrate and start over. So we lost a lot of the things that we had. It wasn't that they went from lasers and holograms to, stones. They just went from stone temples to having to migrate and rebuild after they got.
Oh yeah. So they weren't even that. It's not like they were super ahead of us. They were ahead, but not by a millennial.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Now, if people's thoughts about there being extraterrestrials with some of these civilizations, there could have been some things. There's all kinds of weird stuff like Indus Valley. There is a place there that is very old. I'm thinking about 6,000 BC. I could be off by a couple thousand years one way or another. But it looks very much like there was nuclear devastation. Sand turned to glass, people burnt, remains of skeletons that were burnt. Was that what it was? Was it a comet that did something? Who knows, right? But there's all these weird things that people go, is this signs that was there technology that was brought here? And the problem, I think, is our archaeology, our science tends to get very dogmatic, almost like religion. They get in a place of, we didn't have civilization before 5,000 BC. And then they start to find things that show that we did, like Göbekli Tepe in Turkey. Some of these, that are more like 10,000 years old, where they were actually carving and erecting monuments that we didn't think they were capable of because they were hunter-gatherers, supposedly at that point. And then what happens, the archaeologists fight this stuff because that's not the way it's supposed to be. And then we have these breakthroughs that show, no. So it's real hard because people see things that don't match up. It automatically becomes it was super technology or aliens. And we start to realize it's just that we weren't quite right about where we were at the time. So I'm not discounting us having technologic epics that we don't know of. I'm not discounting aliens. But what I'm saying is we tend as humans to get very dogmatic about our history, the way things happened. And when that breaks, people fight it. And so then all kinds of conspiracy theories and all kinds of, well, what are they hiding? It was really they knew aliens came. So who knows? I don't know for sure.
So do you think that there's aliens at Roswell? Area 51 or
well, I think now they're probably actually the discussions in most of the belief is it's an off facility that's outside of Area 51. The Roswell space incident, it was in the paper that a saucer crashed. Police officers and military people said that a saucer crashed and they found beings. And then 2 days later, they showed remnants of a weather balloon that looks nothing like what was said. And that there were no bodies, even though people said there were. And there's people that have come forward who are children of people that were there, who said that their family said it really did happen. So do I believe something was found? Yeah, I do in that case.
Yeah. And then, I mean, what did they do with those bodies? Some people say they're at Wright Pat here in Ohio, because we have like a crazy complex, area complex. I know on good behalf that there's people there with top secret level clearance and they can't talk about things. And when you ask them, they just say, "Oh, I just push a pencil." But I know that you didn't do that. You know what I mean? Like, because I know you as a person, but, and it's did we grab beings? Did we harvest them? Like, do you think our government's hiding like crazy shit from us?
So there's all in the UFO community, there's all kinds of theories, all the way to that we have actual living beings that are working with our government of multiple species. There's in the community, there's belief that, we have, that our government actually has treaties with different aliens, and then all the way down to just that there's been some bodies that have been recovered. I tend to not believe and I could be completely wrong, but I tend to not really believe the giant, like there's 50 level complexes under the desert with, 100 species working with our government. I just think that would be real hard to be able to prove, to hide to that degree. I do think they've recovered some. There's theories that there was a live one and dead ones. There's other theories it was just dead bodies and that they were autopsied and frozen, and that's the extent of it. I believe that the Roswell crash, there were bodies. I don't know that any lived. And my guess is we probably treated it like a science experiment, because what else would we do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that one of, like, when you think of the most credible events, is that one of them up there? Are there some other ones that you are a fan of as far as like credibility?
So Roswell is definitely one of them because of all the people that came forward and said what they saw, and the family members and people after the fact that came back and said yes. There's also a number, I do trust the ones that come out of government agencies, whether they're like the Tic Tac, the one you described, where they see the UFO and they track it, and they describe seeing it again halfway across the world. There's actually another video in the Middle East of a very similar object with the same properties around our nuclear vessels again. That kind of stuff, I believe. I also believe when there's people coming forward from governments, because it's not just US, there's some from British government. When I hear people that have been in the government for a long time, they were decorated officers, I tend to believe it because they have a lot to lose by disclosing this stuff.
Right.
Now, if it's somebody who's on, like, I don't know if you've ever watched Gaia TV. It's like a YouTube for spiritual stuff. And some of their stuff's good. And sometimes they'll have somebody on there that claims that they, are in contact psychically with these beings in Brazil that have been here. And it just, and not that I disbelieve that that's possible, but they get way out there, like, they're the only person that can communicate with them.
Right.
Well, I start to question.
Yeah.
But when it's people that, science backgrounds, people that have been in the army and military that flew ships or knew about experimental stuff, that's where I find it really credible. Or multiple people seeing it.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
That makes sense.
What does it take to get into MUFON? Is there like a background check, or like you have to prove your Men in Black status?
No. So what you have to do is you join MUFON, which it's not expensive, but it's like something a year to be a member. To become a field investigator, you have to take a very long test on the internet. It's 100 questions. It's about how to interview people. It's about how to do some astronomy, basic. I mean, you don't have to become an astrophysicist, but you have to know a little bit about the solar system and comets. You also have to be able to do math, because there's a lot of things about angles and
I'm out.
They have formulas for you at least.
Oh, sweet. Still probably out. Walter, you'll have to go and report, dude.
But you also have to do things. You have to know how they classify, because they classify things in different ways. How to do it's like to be well-rounded. And once you pass that, you become an associate field investigator, where you have somebody who's already one that you work with. Okay. After you've done so many cases and have proven that, like, you're just not going to get bored after a week and stop doing it. Right. Or you're not saying all of these, somebody saw Venus, it was a UFO. You got to prove that you're actually doing the research. Then you become a field investigator. And that's the beginning. There's like senior field investigators, then there's state, like people who run the state investigation. And then there's a thing called star investigators, and they're the ones that go do the real fun stuff. They go when there's supposedly been a landing, and there's a experiencer group that talks. They're all psychologists and psychiatrists that go interview people that claim to have been abducted and stuff. Yeah, I don't get those kind of cases, because I'd probably damage some people instead of helping them. So.
Where did they touch you? Where did?
Can you draw a picture of how they broke you?
Yeah. Is there any way I can get a video of this fucking probing? Just let me know. Do you have a Ring doorbell? Like, what's up? God, that's so good, man. Walter, you should join MUFON, dude.
I think you're more the type. I mean,
can you cheat on my math test for me though?
Dude, I'm not good at math.
Oh, I thought you were.
I don't know why you got that impression.
Well, you're just real big brain, dude.
Because I code. You think because I'm a software engineer, I know how to do math?
No, dude, I didn't.
That way.
I even forgot you were, because I don't describe you by the thing you do. Okay, I just thought you were a smart person. And you're attacking me for it.
I didn't mean to attack you. I'm so sorry, buddy.
No,
it's flattering that you thought I could do math.
Dude, I thought you had us down. We'll just have to have Mark on here often to report back from MUFON, because neither of us are fucking getting in.
No, definitely
not. Hell yeah, Mark. I could sit here and talk aliens even more with you. But we're gonna close out here. What's some parting knowledge you have on aliens that you could send our guest home with?
I think for me, it's don't go to the extremes of believing everything, but don't discount everything just because we've heard the jokes about little green men and about, that it's all bunk. Because if you go out and do the research, you find that some really good people that have good reputations and aren't just making stuff up have experienced something. I'm not telling you to go believe even the ones that are well spoken and can be proven not to be, just making stuff up. I'm not saying believe everything they say, but keep an open mind.
Oh yeah. You're saying be a Skully and not a Mulder, dude. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
Yeah, for sure. Our Lady the Skeptic, dude.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. That's rad, man. I think that's great advice. And then Walter, we wanted to try this new segment. Let's see what happens. I don't know what we're going to call this, but I ripped it off from another podcast called Mabim Bam. You probably know it because they're fucking real famous. But I just went on to Yahoo's answers and looked up some religion and spirituality questions because it's crazy. And I think that this would be a good way for us to answer some questions that people have about religion, about the Tomes religion. You know what I mean? So here's the question, and both of you feel free to throw in. Was Jesus an alien or what?
I mean, I think you know where I stand on this, right?
No.
What's the difference?
There we go, dude. Hell yeah.
What's the difference? I mean, he could be. Look, man, if you just replace God with a UFO, then she got knocked up on the UFO. Boom, he's an alien. What's the difference?
It's all the same.
Yeah, I think for sure he could have been. I mean, I think it makes the story maybe a little less powerful if he wasn't the son of God. He was just an alien. I don't know if him dying for our sins really counts for much in that case. So maybe
you're not from here. Work. You can't die for our sins.
You're not even from here, dude.
Dude, go back to where you're from.
Die for those guys' sins. It's pretty judgy. It's pretty judgy to die for a species' sins that you don't even take part in.
Yeah, dude. Well, I mean, fuck, most of us weren't even born when, fucking the original died for our sins, so, hell yeah. Mark, what do you think? Jesus?
Well, if the term is really extraterrestrial, which means not from Earth, at least some part of his spirit is not from Earth.
Hell yeah.
I know I'm dodging the question. And there are people that believe either he was an alien or that he was the reincarnation of an alien. I personally, I don't know. I think we're all aliens from a standpoint of spiritually, we're more than just this body. So it's a complicated question.
Hell yeah. That's a good stance to have on it, though, dude. Maybe we are all aliens.
Where do you land, Dave? You think little Christ was a alien baby?
I mean, I think it's better than the Christ I read about in the Bible, dude. For now, it's like, hell yeah, I'm more down with that. That explains a lot of the magic, shit like that, I think that if miracles are just fuck, dude, if I go back 200 years with an iPhone, people are going to think I'm God. Yeah. So
he just came back with some defibrillator paddles and maybe some insulin. I don't know, whatever kind of medicine. Just brought it back
for keeping leprosy in mind. I just bring back hand sanitizer, and that cures everything. Whatever. Hell yeah. I think he's totally. My stance as of now is that Jesus was an alien. Okay. Until you talk me out of it, but right now that makes the most sense to me.
Sure, I'll take it.
Oh yeah.
Tome's official stance is Christ was an alien.
Hey, dude, no, that's my stance. I think that the Tome stance is that he totally could have been. Don't rule it out. You know what I mean? Sure. Don't rule it out. This religion's not about my thoughts, dude. I think the smarter thing is that he very well might be an alien, but maybe not.
Okay. So the stance is there. We have no stance.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Yeah.
I like it.
Hey, dude, we don't have to figure out the tome stance, I guess. We're just answering questions. This is what the tome thinks. Maybe he's an alien. Maybe he's not.
You going to send that back to him on Yahoo? Let the guy know?
Maybe I can figure it out if I can.
Yeah, hit him up.
I mean, that message board is like a 30-year-old thing. I don't know if I can fucking email things back. Hell yeah. Mark, it's so good having you, man.
Good to be here with you guys.
Thanks for talking aliens with us. Do you have anything to plug or anything?
No. Well, my book, totally non-related to aliens. Well, maybe. Embracing Lilith has sold over 1,000 copies now.
Oh yeah.
Congrats.
And it's being translated into Portuguese and going to be released in Brazil.
That's fucking rad, man. Let's try and get, we have listeners, from Russia. We have listeners from everywhere. Everybody start trying to order his book, and all these other countries so that we can get, Embracing Lilith all over the world.
Cool.
I think that would be rad. Everybody go buy Embracing Lilith.
Thank you.
Hopefully on witchlab.com.
You'll get it signed if you get it from Tiffany.
Yeah. Leave out this fucking Amazon bullshit. Get it from Witch Lab. Support two people at once. Hell yeah, Walter. Well, that's all I got, buddy.
Yeah, it was a good time.
Hell yeah.
I had a blast.
Fuck yeah. Do we what's the verse, dude?
I think the verse is be a Skully, not a Mulder.
Yeah, dude. Be a Skully, not a Mulder. Or
there you go.
The truth is out there, Skully. You could also do that one.
I'm not a big X-Files fan, but I'll leave it up to you.
No, dude. I think be a Skully, not a Mulder, dude. That fits right in with the tome.
Hell yeah.
Hell yeah. Hey, we love you guys. Thanks for listening to us. Thanks for continuing to follow us and everything like that. That's been incredible. We love you. You can find us on Toma Chaos Podcast on everything and at Gmail. If you want to send us questions or critiques, and also give us 5 stars on everything you possibly can. Yeah, we'll see you later. We love you all.
Yep.
Bye. Peace.